Perfect. Let's get going.
Have you got the slideshow?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Keep it on presentation mode. Okay, this kind of a kickoff meeting to digitize the valve. We wanted to have more people face to face, but found out December is not a good time to get lots of things scattered all over the place right now. We have some on the phone. We'll talk introductions in a minute, but I wanted to go through and let's go to the safety topic first. We always have to start out with the safety topic. And this is Christmas season, and ladders are going to be a big deal when you start decorating and everything. So that's just some stats right there on emergency room treatments. By the way, my wife fell off a ladder and broke her ankle. So it's very near and dear to my heart. You know, I won't let her on a ladder anymore. Go to the next one. So these are just some, go ahead and just click here. These are just some examples of things that you don't want to do this stuff. Even carrying something up a ladder is not a smart idea. So these are the things that are going to get you in trouble.
Is that you, John?
That's not,
Vibes of Christmas vacation, right?
well, I did have a story, by the way, that I wish I'd had a picture of it, but I decided to cut a tree limb down one time from a ladder. And I'm standing on the ladder in a ridiculously high position on the ladder with a chainsaw. And I had determined that the limb was going to go that way. Well, my engineering skills are not very well because of that came my way. And so here I am, I'm standing on a ladder on the next top rung. And the limb is coming my way, and this is a chainsaw. That thing is worth about 2 inches from my nose. I was sitting there looking around, you know, what do I do now? And so finally I just said, to hell with it. I went to Geronimo and threw it and I jumped down. You know, fortunately I wasn't hurt, but I mean, it could have been a real disaster. You know, the limb came this way and then it stopped. It didn't keep coming, you know. So you can get in bad trouble. So this is what I suggest. Go to the next one. I finally got one of these things, and it's probably the best little thing ever made. They got small, medium, and large, but you can stand on that platform and hit it again. And I've even got a little bag that hooks on it. So rather than carrying stuff up, you can put your stuff in the little bag and then get up on thing and do some work. So that's really the safe way to do things. I advocate getting one of these ladders. That's the safety topic. I think now we're ready for introductions, so we can go around the room and I'm John Fish. I represent S&B Engineers and Constructors, as well as Industrial Measurement Solutions with the digitized now. But I've been working with CII and back in Todd, what was it, Fiatech?
Yeah.
It's the Fiatech. This is 2012, 2015.
Yeah.
We put this initiative out in 2012, 2014. And I already tell everybody I was born premature. I'm roughly 15 years premature because I seem to be 15 years early on everything that's coming out in the market. Eventually it'll get there. I think the market is ready for digitalization now. It was not in 2012, 2015. Everybody thought it was a good idea, but the technology and the people just weren't ready to accept it yet. So that's kind of my history.
Annabella Martin, Strategic Business Director with Hilti. I'm also the chair of the Supply Chain Management CBA. And John Fish, 2 annual conferences ago, gave me the challenge to digitize the supply chain. So here we are. It's not going to take just one person. It's going to take all of us. As a supplier representative, I see how there could be major improvements made in how communication is shared, transferred, utilized. So I'm excited to see where this group can really take it. And I'm also excited to see that there's already some great efforts that have been already begun in other parts of the world. So we're not necessarily starting from scratch. It's really more, how can we take all of this great technology, the people, and bring it all together to build a robust process that can support the industry overall. So happy to be here.
I'm Rod LaPointe, Director of Supply Chain with PTAG. Career supply chain guy, so I've dealt with this kind of issue my whole life, right? I started out with vendor document control, so dealing with exactly this issue. So I was on vacation a couple of weeks ago and missed a meeting with our European friends, and it sounds like they've got some good advancements I'm really excited to hear about, and I've read the material. I think it's a great time to bring them into the mix.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Jamie Gobrecht with the construction industry, serving in the executive director role. And prior to coming into this role a couple of years ago, I had worked with ExxonMobil for almost 40 years. So I experienced the same challenges that others have through the decades in this area of knowing that there's room for improvement and really looking forward to the time that we'll really make a difference. CII helps provide that opportunity by being a platform for developing topics and performing research that are all intended to help industry. And John, I don't know if we have the slide in that's kind of around the guidelines for CII related gatherings, but one of those is about that we're really all about promoting industry, not our individual companies. Yeah. And this topic really fits well in that category. Something John didn't mention, of course, is that just 4 months ago, he was our top award recipient within CII, which involves really being someone who has been making a difference for industry for many years. And the way John does it is in ways that, to me, will leave a legacy. You know, he already has done things. This is just one more example. Thinking of things in advance and then pushing us as industry to actually pursue things that will be very beneficial to industry. Again, not just individual companies. So anyway, glad to be here.
I'm Andrew Hinkle, Global Account Manager with MRC Global based in Houston. I manage and steward our global contracts with some of our IOC customers, so ExxonMobil, BP, Shell as examples. We have typically global framework agreements with these IOC customers and many other. So I support their businesses, downstream, upstream, midstream related. You know, my role, I work closely with our supply chain department, who interfaces with manufacturers, master distributors, vendors, et cetera, technical specialists, and, in conversations, you all probably recognize the name Charlie Matrailer possibly, but work closely with our SMEs and hope to take some of this info back to MRC and keep pushing the envelope on digital solutions.
I'm Brendan Lackey. I work with Andrew. I'm in business development, and I work with the engineering firms and the end users, primarily on capital projects and turnarounds. My background is I came from a valve manufacturer where we started this conversation back in 2015, and like you said, it wasn't there at the time. So yeah, excited to see where this goes. You know, you mentioned fugitive emissions right now earlier, and I know LDAR is a big thing in the plant. Yeah. So
yeah.
So Todd Sutton, Zachary Corporation, Director of Construction Technology and Research Development. And I've been involved with previously FIATech, now CII. And actually started early before even FIATech. Early in my career, CII was instrumental with my education and also with the PIP as well. I had a success in dissertation basically in around 97, 98, when Chevron Phillips went to SAP Enterprise ERP system. And for a turnaround, I was able to, in a small scale, so it wasn't large scale, but a small scale where I had Houston Gasket come out, and we basically measured every single gasket, got that put in the system, and had a full digitized version of it so that we can just hit, every time I had a turnaround, everything was fully automated. Everything needed to get ordered from bolts, everything, including the gaskets, which was a problem because we would have the union representatives for the plant sometimes would misplace those gaskets or remove them from the work site for us. So we had to, I had to order 2 of each as the contractor on the site. Anyway, that was, but I got interested in looking at larger scale, international top scaling that up. And when we did the RFID for material tracking plant and progress improvement. And then John, because I was doing the RFID stuff, he invited me to 2012 to a CII conference to talk about the valve, addressing valves and the counterfeiting of valves and stuff, to how to can get the track them better and prevent the counterfeit of the valve system. So here we are now, trying it again.
Hello, good morning. I'm Michael Sprague. I'm at Trace Parts currently, but my history is I was in the military and stuff, but then I joined Swagelok Company and I was e-commerce manager there for 8 years. I got involved in that and doing the business, and then I moved over to biz dev, and I was working with the EPCs and the owners, large oil and gas customers, and providing digital solutions from Swagelok to them. Did so well. One of my vendors was a company called Thomas Register, Thomas Publishing, and they had a CAD solution, and we adopted that solution. I did so well using their solution, they invited me to come work for them. So about 16 years ago, I went to work for Thomas, and I worked on that platform with customers, got involved with John, Fiatech, et cetera. Thomas was sold about 2 years ago to a company called Xometry, and our division was spun off to Trace Parts. So basically all of the technology and everything, and now a whole complement of Trace Parts technology is available. And that's what we can show you today as well, how those have been joined together, but to provide digital solutions for manufacturers, distributors, and end users.
Meredith, you snuck in on us.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Sorry, a little tardy. Traffic. My name is Meredith Holcomb. I'm a project manager for a small information management company in the Gallery area called Exosciences. This will be my first year with them, but prior to that, I was mainly in supply chain and manufacturing for a large oil and gas service company. So familiar with ordering lots of equipment and getting time. So it's nice to kind of be more of an information management focused side of things because I just joined the information management subcommittee, got holiday brain. And so Heath Sarin is the current chair, and I'll be vice chair until he decides to pursue other things and get his role sometime next year.
You want to go through the?
My name's, I'm Michael Pale. I'm director of PIP. We're a subset of CII, and our organization is focused on engineering standards. And we have a digitalization committee that's just in its embryonic state, trying to resurrect what we called a data management group. So we're trying to pick the learnings from this group that y'all have to help feed them. So if there's some common ground, we'll be glad to share anything that we learn. But the Jeannie Lewis with Beck is leading that committee, so y'all might be familiar with her.
And Michael, we do have some common ground, so we're looking.
Yes, we do.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Dan? Oh, somebody.
I'm just gonna go down through the list. Anthony Ofori?
Dan is muted. I think he's trying to speak, but he's muted. Yeah.
Sorry, I was muted.
Go ahead, Dan.
All right. Anyways, hi, Dan Dubrell from PTAG. I work directly for Rod there. My background was with military, managing various first line, second line shops, and defense contracts. Did a lot of oversight in defense contracts. That's me.
Hi, I'm Nick Gowell. I'm currently with Air Products. I have a background in operations with the nuclear Navy, and also some time at Worley and a couple of valve manufacturers. So I have a pretty broad view of things.
We're talking about operations today too also, so be interested in getting your input on that.
Sure.
Good. Shall I go next? Fantastic. So I'm Anthony Ofori with ShareCat. We're based in Norway. And so I'm originally from the UK, as you can hear from my accent, but I'm based in Norway. So the ShareCat platform is a information exchange platform, as we call it. So it's just a central place for the sharing of information between industrial entities. So that's sort of the core concept of what we do, and hopefully we'll go into that a little bit later. My role at ShareCat is Supply Chain Engagement Director. So I look after the use of our platform within the supply chain leading up towards owner operators.
I have a couple of slides on ShareCat, Anthony. Maybe you'll jump in at that.
Yeah, happy to elaborate a little bit more about what we do.
Perfect. And maybe we continue as we are here on the invitation of ShareCat. So my name is Christoph Kuhn. I'm from BASF, the chemical company, from the headquarters in Germany, but we also operate sites in Geismar and in Freeport. And I basically started my career as maintenance manager at BASF and had a lot of struggle to get good information from the suppliers. So therefore, we set up a concept based on the digital twin. And now I'm the global product manager for the digital data chain. So we implement for BASF the topic of the digital twin globally. And in parallel, I'm also the manager of a digital data chain consortium consisting of 60 companies, mainly suppliers like Flowserve, like Amazon, ABB, Siemens, but also the big owner-operator of the process industry like Bayer, BASF, Evonik, Lanxess, Sanofi, Roche. And we try together to develop the standards to automate the process from information provisioning from the supplier, manufacturer to the owner-operator. And today I brought with me a team member. Carl, maybe you quickly introduce yourself.
Yes, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Carl. I'm working in the team of Attila, also based in Germany, but providing solutions.
Barely hear you, Carl.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to hear you.
It also sounds a little bit weird from my side. Maybe now it's better.
Better. Yeah.
All right. So, hi everyone. My name is Carl Philipp Ding. I'm working in the team of Attila. So also with BASF, based in Germany, but providing solutions globally, especially for China and especially for the US area. And we, in addition to what Attila was mentioning already, I'm also working with some initiatives that deal with data spaces, bringing together different companies and using the same concepts to share information. Yeah, so happy to join here.
Yeah, and Carl at the same time is also in charge for all our wealth manufacturers that we are currently onboarding in the digital twin topic. So that's the reason why I invited him too.
Who's next?
Keith?
Yeah, I can go. I just popped in about 10 minutes ago. My apologies for not being in there in person. That was the intent all along, but I was told I needed to attend a meeting in person this morning. I work for Chevron, the same as Jake Gleason, who might have introduced himself already here. I work in the capital projects function here. Spent 16 years on major capital projects in the IT and IM data space. And as Meredith mentioned earlier, I'm the current chair of the IM subcommittee, but I'll be transitioning out of that role as Meredith takes up that mantle at some point next year. So excited to be a part of this effort and looking forward to the discussion today.
Since we're on the Chevron group,
Yeah,
I think, yeah, Chevron, yeah, that's right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob Gleason. As Heath mentioned, I work with him as well. I am a digital advisor for our pre-feed capital projects engineering team. I've been with Chevron for about 11 years, working in capital projects the entire time. Before that, I was with Bechtel for about 14 years as a college hire. So I've spent my entire career working in on capital projects, mainly in the oil and gas industry. I've been engaged with the CFOS effort for about 6 or 7 years, and I've been with CII leading some of their groups. I was the chair of the information management subcommittee before Heath was, and I took over as the chair of the technology committee about a year ago, I think. So that's my engagement. I'm so early in the pre-feed phase that we're not into the procurement and supply chain, but I do have just an interest in this from a capital projects execution standpoint and education and learning point of view. So happy to be here.
okay. I'm Ayman Cheta with Shell. I've been with Shell for about 19 years, which is about half of my career. I wear multiple hats at Shell, but I mostly support major capital projects. Before Shell, I used to work for Total and Amoco, and then we were acquired by BP, and then I ended up with Shell. Externally, I've been involved in API and ASME standards since 1999 for about 25 years now. I was a chair of ASME B16 subcommittee C for I don't know how many years, 6 years or so. Also API subcommittee on piping and valves. I was a vice chair for several years. And right now I am the chair of IOGP piping and valve standards. Yep.
Now we have Hytham. We still have a few more.
Harry?
Hello, Haytham Al-Sadiq. I'm piping and valve engineer in Chevron Technical Center. I'm supporting valves and piping for the corporate as an SME, and I'm involved in several committees for API and IOGP S562 for ball valves.
Okay, and then Eric Damp from Exxon.
See if my video comes up.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to fix a glitch on that. But good day, everybody. Eric Damp, ExxonMobil. Glad to be here today. I had intended to be in person like Heath, and got redirected to some in-person meetings on both sides of this. But yeah, I'm 27 years with ExxonMobil. Bit of industry experience before that for an EPC. Most of my career has been in the project space, capital project space, and most of that in feed and detail design. So I have a lot of experience with engineering design, specification, procurement. My technical skill area is in piping and valves, so know a thing or two about valves, and hopefully have some insights on what we're working on here. Again, happy to be part of the team, and look forward to the discussion.
And then last but not least, Miguel Jackson.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Miguel Jackson. I work for Aviva, which is a enterprise software company. I cover the software solution for digitizing the engineering assets, and this topic of valve is close to me since my background is a process engineer. So I spend a lot of hours in the field trying to look at the valve and where did they came from, what is the data for these different pieces of equipment. Looking forward to this chapter.
Good.
Yep, I think that's everybody.
A lot of knowledge in this meeting, that's for sure. Want to go through the slides there? Are you running it, Michael? Okay. Yeah. Okay. There's really, when we talk about this, there's two phases that, and we kind of discovered this as we went along. The original concept was to take the existing PDF catalogs that are available now and put them into digital format so they would be machine readable. And the objective there is to replace a lot of manual key punch and looking for finding things, etc. So then we figured out that okay, do number two. We realized that with all the work that's being done, especially in the European community, with on the digital side, that we can use QR tags, and then so we've got the first thing is we want to be able to select valves and streamline that process, the requisitioning, selecting, and validating valves. That's step one. Now, once I purchase a valve, step two is all about the vendor data, everything. So the MTR, the KPI, all the test reports, etc. Everything we need about that valve in order to support installation, construction, and maintenance is the next step. So it looks like it's all going to fit together pretty good. So let's go to I'm going to go through these slides fairly fast, but the 2023 business case is $73 billion. Why valves? Because we spend $73 billion on valves, but that's just valves. What people don't realize is there's a lot of hidden costs when you buy a valve. All that validation processing, rekeying things just to get things purchased. And then once you get it purchased, you're chasing down all the MTRs and PDFs, and we're logging those into databases. All of that stuff is manual. So all of this stuff is hidden in the price of the valve. I could almost say that $73 million we spend on valves could almost be, anyway, significantly multiplied by the labor and the transactional costs that are associated with it, but it's hidden. Nobody sees it, so nobody sees it as a problem. The problem is here is the process has not changed in 40 or 50 years. We're doing valves today the same way we've done valves always. So that's what we want to attack. And we're looking for digitalization and automation. But before we can do that, we need standardization. And that's what Europe seems to be providing us with IOGP, digital passport, et cetera. All these things are setting the standards that we were missing before. As we said, we started this thing in 2012, 2014. Industry just wasn't ready. So we're going to make another run at it. Go next. Oh, if you add Trump's new tariff of 25%, that's going to go up significantly. I had to throw that in there. So those dollar values going up, they're not going down. That's for sure. Okay. So, and again, the problem statement is that the valve manufacturers give you a lot of good data, but it's in PDF form. It's not usable. It's not machine readable, and it requires manual key punch to be able to use that data. Contractors and orders, et cetera. So I'm not going to read this thing to you, but the bottom line is we're spending a lot of time looking for and rekeying information. And that's the waste in the system that we want to try and wring out. Go to the next one. And this is 30, and they got studies, 30 to 40% of the engineer's time is spent for rekeying information. And the beauty of that is that as a contractor, we get paid for that. I get paid for looking for and rekeying information just as much as I do for engineering. So that's something that you owners need to be aware of. And I don't have a problem with all that. But if you knew what you were paying, you'd probably, well, you know, you'd have a cap. So options to improve, OEMs and distributors to pre-link valve catalog to owners, and maybe to the owner's valve tagging system. I know that like Exxon, I think Shell has their own valve tagging system. So if we could link some of their valve tagging system to some of the manufacturer, that would help a little bit. And process industry practice has a tagging system. A lot of people say PIP numbers such and such are equal. And that requires a lot of work to find out what that or equal is, you know, et cetera. So go ahead. So anyway, the barrier is text-based. Go ahead. And this is just a current work process. And it says we place an RFQ. We go out and we say, okay, we want to buy these valves. And then we receive quotes. So then you research the tech data and they're looking to see, do the valves that were submitted by MRC or whoever, do they really fit what we want to do? There's some hours there that we looked at. And this is a typical manual process, by the way. But anyway, that whole process takes 2 to 4 weeks before we can place an order. And that doesn't make any difference whether I got 4 valves or 500 valves. It's not the quantity of valves, it's the number of types of valves that makes a little bit of a difference. But I'll spend almost as much time buying 4 valves as I do buying 40 valves. And so that's a real problem. And my engineering time will dwarf the cost of the valves by the time I'm done. So go ahead, Nathan. So the purpose is if we use the online digital valve, some type of a matching process, we can be pre-selected, we could place an RFQ, we could get our quotes, and we could place an order, get the next one. And this would shave 2 to 4 weeks off the cycle, as well as a lot of labor. So that's what we're looking for right there. So, and now, you know, we'll back up one. It looks like, that seems like a simple process. Place RFQ, receive quotes. Well, we decided to peel the can open and look behind the curtain. So let's look behind the curtain. So when you look behind the curtain, these are the things we do. We request a valve quotation. It goes to a distributor. Distributor sends that to a manufacturer. Manufacturer reviews the specification. Do you need clarification? And what we got feedback from a couple of distributors was, hit the button, 95% of our quotes coming from engineering and construction require clarification. So that means, go ahead, it sets a whole new cycle. We send the clarification back to the distributor. They send it back to the contractor. It goes back to the engineer. Anyway, it goes through all this cycle, and then it goes to the manufacturer and get the quotes. And then you can go on, go hit the next button. Then we go on and we'll get our purchase order and get everything done. So hit it one more time. That's what we want to get rid of. We want to get rid of that little bypass cycle right there. And that adds a lot of money and a lot of time to the work process. Okay, go ahead. This is a typical valve technical validation. Most of these places guys have spreadsheets and they get their quotes in and they got to type in, they got to get the meat on the catalog and they got to type in that information. Then they get what is the other one there?
Smith.
And Smith and so forth. And they type in that information and they look across to see are they compatible and everything. But it's all a manual process right now. And it takes a lot of time. And I've got horror stories when we're in a hurry and you can't believe how long it takes to get a large valve order through this process. It takes a lot of time. Okay. This is just, I threw this in there, Mike, but this is just your typical valve specification for PIP that you would have. If we had this available that we could import also, I think that would be a benefit, into that spreadsheet. That's something we may want to talk about, a little bit later on with your digital committee as that's being formed. Okay, next one. Estimated cost to industry. And I took a mid-sized contractor, and I did this in 2018, and I didn't bother to update it a lot. But I did some research, and this happened to be our company. We spent 1,400 hours researching valves last year. Go ahead. At the billing rate, et cetera, it's $154,000. Estimate this process is executed by 1,000 different people over a year's time around the world. So using those same rates, that's $154 million every year. If the distributor runs into the problems we talked about, that's another 154 million, and that comes up to a whopping $308 million, not spent on valves, but spent on trying to purchase a valve. And that's just ridiculous. And that's 2018 dollars. So if you put that in today's perspective, I don't care, cut it in half. You don't think that numbers are good, cut it in half. It's still a whole lot of money any way you look at it. And the worst thing is today, speed is king. Your ability to get in the field and get executed and get out in the field for a product, that's what our clients want. And it's just taking too much time. And we got another story this is back in to show you where I come from, 1982, Dr. Brookshire, the B of S&B, said, I am not putting a personal computer on an engineer's desk. I don't want engineers typing. I got secretaries that do that. That was his big claim. And we finally convinced him, no, they can really do work, on computers. We ended up getting them. But the fact is, we still spend a heck of a lot of time typing. I got engineers typing on computers, and that's really criminal in this day and age. That should not happen. Okay. And this I should have done this ahead of time. But make no mistake, hit the button. Make no mistake. I'm a contractor. I don't have any money. It's the owners that have all the money, believe me. So the owners are paying for every bit of the waste in this work process. Now, I'll guarantee you, we make a lot of money off of that. I got a bunch of engineers right now in another building that are typing valve data in and validating valves to buy, and I make a significant markup on that, owners. So that's going to take my business away. But the objective of CII is to improve the industry. And you want to know why things cost too much? Because this is the kind of waste that we have built in to every process that we have today. So we've got to automate, we've got to standardize, and we've got to digitize. So current work process, now we're getting into the information management side. I've purchased the valves. I've got the valves. So now the documentation that I need, the documentation goes from the manufacturer to the distributor to the engineer, whoever purchased that valve. I can get valves. I can get a truckload of valves and they come to the warehouse and I got a QA QC guy there and he's got to look at every stinking valve and make sure the paperwork is there. The MTI, the PMI, whatever. This guy cannot log those. I can't receive those valves, which means you guys can't get paid until I can get all that paperwork. And you can't believe the amount of money we spend going around chasing all those PDFs and pieces of paper. And that's just criminal. That should not happen. So it goes to construction looks for them, an owner operator looks for them. All these people have to go find that information, log it into their system. A MTR, a PMI is logged into at least 3 different systems that I know of, manually in most cases. So anyway, what's this say? Required to manage. Okay, now notice right there that engineering information is only 25 to 30%. So as an engineer, I don't need very much of that information at all. but I have to receive it, log it in because I'm responsible for transmitting that to the owner. So I'm doing a lot of work there and just make sure that the owner gets all this paperwork. So I get the vectors. This is where ShareCat comes in. ShareCat plays a role in this. Y'all want to jump in and say a word or two about ShareCat? Is that Anthony?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm not sure how much time that I have, but I can talk through a little bit at a high level what we do, what the ShareCat platform is trying to achieve. And I think Fish has really hit the nail on the head there, in that the wastage that exists in across various industries is just can be overcome now with the technology that we do have. And stepping away even from ShareCat as an organization, just looking at what can be achieved with having a centralized platform for engineering information is quite critical. So I can perhaps show an overview of what we do. I'll just talk through what we have here actually. So the concept of having a cloud platform, especially a centralized cloud platform, is having the information in one place. And we decided on product as the common denominator across the actors within the industrial value chain, as we call it. So suppliers, sub-suppliers, raw material suppliers, package assemblers, owner operators, those actors within the value chain. Each of those, the common denominator is easily put as the product. And so then having product data stored within a centralized location allows a lot of the savings, a lot of the ease of work that Fish is alluding to there in one place. Yep, so in this illustration here, so the bulk of the information flowing through that value chain comes from standardized information. So whether you are a package assembler, a component assembler, it all comes through fairly standardized components that are assembled in different ways and then fed up the value chain. A lot of the data that we see typically in some of the systems that are used today are concentrated around engineering information. How are my products designed? How are my products assembled, and so on? What are the timelines and the project parameters for my particular components and engineering done within my organization? Stepping away again from that, you get a broader view and see that most of the data flowing through that through the value chain is fairly standard. And so having that standardized information in what we call a product catalog allows then a lot more efficiencies to be gained by all of those actors within the value chain. So there's value for suppliers, the value for suppliers being, in this case, the repeat request for information, being able to communicate what their product value is in a more standardized and easy way. The value, I think, is clearer from the owner operator perspective as well, in the sense that being able to control the information coming into your organization is a lot easier also from the supply chain, from sub-suppliers, from EPC contractors, from package assemblers, etc. So that's where we concentrate on, or at least the concept of what we do concentrates on there. So the relationship between ShareCat and CII is fairly new. So Tom, our CEO, who's sent his apologies, he was due to attend today, but had some logistical issues. Attended, I think, in June of this year or summer this year, your
Summer, yeah.
one of your conferences in San Diego, and shared a bit about what we do and some of the concepts I've explained around centralizing data. What Christoph Attila will go through a bit later around the Digital Data Chain Consortium, the third block you can see there, is very much aligned with what we do. We're a member of the organization who's driving for digitalization in the industry, particularly within Europe. It originated within Germany, actually. So the IOGP, I think most people in the room are familiar with the IOGP, another initiative we're involved with. The Industrial Digital Twin Association. You'll hear more and more talk about two particular concepts. One is mentioned in the next box, the digital product passports and the asset administration shell. So the latter concept there is a way of standardizing industrial information into so-called sub-models. So standardize groupings of information around a particular theme. One of them being the nameplate, so basic information about a product, its origin, and so on. Attribute data or technical data is another one. Carbon footprint data is being envisioned as another one as well. So just a standardized way of communicating information between organizations within the industrial. So that's picking up a lot of space. So we're working with the IDTA also. Factory X is another initiative which we're participating in. There's very much the same initiative to digitalize industrial information, and again originated within Germany, is heavily funded by the German government, but we're associate members and participating and supporting with our technology the envisioning of that concept. And THTH, so this is a paper and pulp industry initiative in Finland, which we're participating in to show again the same concepts that's running through here as a bit of a red thread, centralizing information within one place so it can be shared by different organizations. So the concept runs across a lot of different types of industry, is applicable to oil and gas, paper and pulp, textiles we're beginning to talk to, as well as pharmaceutical. So the concept definitely has a lot of weight across different industries.
Very good. Thanks, Anthony. Great job.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Click Nixon. This is your on, Mike.
Yeah, so again, this is a trace part slide. And I think what is interesting here is everybody here who has an interest in the data isn't responsible to make the data. Right, okay. It all starts at the manufacturer, right? Yet everybody downstream here is responsible or needs or has to have it in different formats, in different systems, etc. So Trace Parts, Thomas as well, before, as I mentioned, has been working with manufacturers for over 120 years with the concept of getting their data into a format so that they can support sales and marketing. But the reality is, once you create that data is usable for lots of other places. And John talked to me about this idea, and I was like, we do that every day. But we don't do it every day for an organization or for a larger group. We do it for manufacturer A and manufacturer B and manufacturer C. So what this concept is, basically, we take data from manufacturers in all kinds of flavors and formats, PDFs, etc., and we digitize it and we normalize it and we standardize it so that it can be shared and that it can be searched cross-manufacturer. And that's exactly what the thought is. And by having the manufacturer involved, they now own the data, they maintain the data, validate and maintain the data, and they sustain the data, because that's really the issue. If you guys pay anybody, even internally, if you're the distributors, if you're pulling that data into your own system, somebody in your systems pulled it in at a date and time from a certain document that had a certain date on it. And after that, who knows if it's still good, if it's accurate, etc. What we're talking about is going directly from the manufacturer and feeding any other systems here with that data, their data, normalized data. So the reason why, this is what I do, this is my presentation that I show to the manufacturers. Once you have your data, Mr. Manufacturer, all of those orange bubbles around there, configurators, e-commerce sites, portals, whatever, that's all the thing that they can do with their own data. That's why they're engaged. That's why they maintain their data. Not because you ask them to, it's because they're using their data. But the rest of the story is they now can share their data with distributors, owner-operators, networks, engineering networks, etc., from the same data source. So you're basically tying into the single source of sales and marketing data for the manufacturer. And that, I think, is the real crux here. If you can go there, I mean, you can do anything with the data. But again, if you're not tied to or tethered to the manufacturer, then you're going to be suspect. It's going to be, we had a distributor spend $1 million offshoring a bunch of their data. 8 months later, it was already suspect and they refused to use it. Because again, things change, right? So this is what we're talking about here, is to be able to take the data, and this is what I had, valve selector. I just added another bubble, an external use of that same data. So we don't necessarily need to have contracts with all the manufacturers per se. Some of the guys I was just showing John earlier, they start off with the reason they're building that red bubble of data is for purpose X, a distributor syndication. That's enough motivation to get them started. But then I was with the guy yesterday in Toledo. He said, can I use that on my website? Absolutely. We'll put a web wrapper on it. Now you have an e-catalog. It was $2,000 to do the wrapper. I mean, that's a nothing charge for a digital catalog, but all the investment was in building, maintaining, managing the data. These things, those bubbles that were around there are just one more thing, one more thing. And that's how I see of this is if you can get the manufacturers engaged, and I can't convince them to engage, I mean, distributors have a little bit of a sway with the manufacturers to support digitization of their products. Owners, absolutely. EPCs have some influence. And I think that's where it needs to come down to. It sounds like a sales pitch to me, not a request for help. If you guys are asking for it, it's like, help us, right? So that's what we do. I can do a demo of this, I think, if I jump out of the thing here, just to show you. It's so straightforward. So this is TraceSparks. You can look at our website. It's really about product content everywhere. That's our byline. That's what we believe in. Okay. The network of trace parts, if you do this, we actually publish content to a network of all of these Autodesk, Dassault, PTC, Onshape to networks. We publish digital content to those ones, as well as all of these marketing portals. There's like 47. There's 28 million engineers that touch systems that we publish to. And that doesn't count the manufacturers' sites that we're building and distributors. This is just networks exposure, if you will. So just for this thing, and for those of you, if you've seen this before, I'm sorry, Fish mentioned there may be some new folks online here. This is the standard tool. We used to call it Navigator. Now it's called Product Explorer. And I used to do this just for supplier 1 or just for supplier 2. What we've done here is we've just aggregated the data. So by picking no preference, and this is standard technology, but what we've done is we've automated it. We've made a tool out of it. You could basically pick, different products, different stuff, and you can find products. You can compare. This is exactly what John showed earlier on his spreadsheet. He was showing me this thing. I was like, we do this already, right? Compare items. And again, we just side by side lay them out, and there's who the suppliers are, and these are the things that are the same, and these are the things that are different. Okay, so that's how it's about getting the data. That's the hard work. Putting it into this tool or another tool isn't the thing. When we do this every day, I was showing John this earlier. I got to talk to a guy tomorrow. Do you guys know McWayne? Have you ever heard of them? McWayne, they make valves, whatever, butterfly.
That little exercise right there of showing 3 valves would take us probably an engineer 3 or 4 hours to go find the catalog, read the key to data again, and put it in there. So it's a matter of seconds versus hours is what it really matters.
Seconds is. Yeah. So, and my thinking is, we just work. We don't have to drink the ocean. Working with the distributors and with the owners, we can say, yes, we can buy any valve, but really historically, we've only bought these valves. Start with the 80-20 rule that we've always heard about, right? And
20% of the valves available, 80% of the valves we buy are the 20% that are offered. Just we focus on the ones that everybody uses. The one offered that.
Well, and we can grow there too. Over time, as the market basket changes, you can add more stuff to it. But this we always encourage the manufacturer, because you talk to a valve, we could make any. I know you can make anything. I get it. I understand. But what have you sold in the last 3 years? Let's start there. Okay. And that's what we do. We get them to build out their standard products, and we can then move forward. But yeah, this was one, and this is a really neat example, because we're pitching to these guys actually tomorrow. And he said, well, my engineering group is really concerned that they don't have the resources. So we literally took their marketing and sales information that they had online, and we actually built this solution for them. So here's a set of products, and then what the solution is that you've seen before. So here's all the marketing data, all the technical information. This is all digitized, and I heard digital twin, digital thread several times. This all gets built into the model so that when you pull it into your design systems, you have the digital twin. The digital thread is available. It's not just technical data and geometry, it's both. Okay, and then we actually generate the models, and this is actually done real time. So this is actually building that model right there for you. So this is actually real stuff, and then we can do drawings. John had some interest in technical drawings. We can actually create the technical drawings again on the fly. Click submit, I think. There we go. And it's building that drawing for me. And the reason why it's building the drawing is because, again, we're not going to getting a static PDF. We're using the data that's in the system to generate this drawing. So if these dimensions change, nobody has to go back and do that. Any form of this document, whether it's data or drawing or model, are sourced from the same technical information. So here's a digital one. And we did this whole demo that we're going to do tomorrow without engineering involvement. So when you talk to the manufacturers, they say, oh, that's too much work. We can't possibly do it. we don't need much of their help. We just need their guidance, like which products, what standards, this is where the PIP comes in, this is where the CII comes in, what data should be contained into those models, into that data set. Okay, I don't care. I'm a data guy. I don't care.
Go back to that 3D model.
Yeah, back to the
Where you generated 3D model.
Yeah.
The real trick here is that, and I talked to one, I'm not gonna mention the name of the engineering company, because I talked to them about joining this thing, and they said, we don't want to do that. Says, see that valve right there, or any valve? We have spent thousands of hours building our library of valves with actuators. We don't want you to digitize because we consider that a competitive edge. Well, my guys don't build a catalog, so I'm putting that model into every month, because that actuator is extremely important. When you're designing a plant, I've got to know where that actuator is for operability, maintainability, clearance, et cetera. So my guys are up there, they're reading that catalog, that 2D drawing to show, and they're building these valves on every stinking project. Costs a fortune, and Chevron is paying for that.
So Mike, if I got it right.
That one in there, so Exxon, but.
So if I got it right, you're saying that the manufacturer would feed live information into this.
Well, we have several different ways of doing it. Yeah. So we have a system that is standalone that you're seeing here now that operates, and they can also, if I go back to my slides, here, here we'll do
You
this.
mentioned the hard work is getting the data. So how much of it is already available?
It's in catalogs.
That's what I'm saying, is that
It's in
McLean
their
catalog, I did that without, the pushback from marketing was, we can't possibly do this, I don't have the engineering resources. So to make a point of it, we built him a test catalog without talking to any of his engineers.
It's based on their data.
Data that they have available online. Now, if he wants to make it bigger or smaller or deeper, we can do that after we talk to him about it. But basic stuff is all out there in the marketplace.
That data, that's what we're talking about. The data is there today, but it's not in a usable format.
It's in PDFs.
It's not machinable, it's not machine readable. That's what digitization is all about.
And I'm just thinking as a hypothetical, what if a manufacturer develops a valve with trim for hydrogen service?
Sure.
Would that information kind of be able to be fed into this?
Correct.
Way, or is it a kind of a new product?
Correct. So we're talking about digital twin. So this is the data and the geometry. If they create a valve that has a certain geometry that's for a certain service, the service can be included in the data, so that when you're picking the selection, you could pick service type and pick hydrogen.
Yep.
And then when that model gets selected and then the geometry and the model gets created, you have your product that meets that specification. And this is actually, like I said, pre-distributor stuff, is if the engineering firms and the owners can look at the products that are in their AML, right? So they know who they're working with and find the right product. Then when they give it to you guys, then you guys can go do your bid project process with 2, 3, whatever, knowing that all of those valves already meet the specification that's being defined.
Move on.
That's it. Yeah.
We got DPP.
I'm
coming
done.
up, I think.
I'm done. Hold on, back to
Good job,
slide.
though, Mike.
Yeah. So that's it. Again, this is just off-the-shelf technology. We're not building anything for anybody per se.
The technology is here today to do, without the owners doing hardly anything other than providing the data, which they have now in their catalog. We just have to figure out a way to get it digitized. That's the hurdle. Okay, next one. Okay, digital, yeah, put it on slideshow, but that's.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there we go.
DPP.
Do you have any comments or questions on mine? I have not been checking it.
Who's here from DPP?
I don't know that
Oh,
we have
we don't have-
anybody.
I think-
from-
we don't have anybody. Digital
Yeah,
product
but-
present. Oh,
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
maybe I can give there some insights.
Yeah.
So the EU Digital Product Passport is part of the digitalization strategy for industry of the European Union. And basically, it's nothing else than a digital twin for products that they require. That DPP is focused mainly on the data that is relevant for the authorities. So it will not have the same scope like a digital twin, but I would say maybe 60% of the scope is identical between the two. And it will be required for any products to be put on the European market. So that means also all types of wells, pumps, anything that has to do with process industry will come or will have to have a DPP. The DPPs will come product category wise. So they started with traction batteries for cars. And then the next one would be then textiles, steel and aluminum. And step by step, they will be required for all different product categories. It includes the main information like who's the manufacturer, what type of product is it, and any kind of information like in which country it has been built, what the main materials are, etc. The reason why they made this is that one of the big issues that we have, and I think you all know it from your private life, a lot of consumer goods, you're not able after 1 or 2 years to find the documentation, and if you have to repair it or replace it, then it is really difficult to find it. And even if you do a research in the web, then it's very likely that maybe you have 5, 6, 7, 8 hits for the product because you just receive general information, but with a serial number, you cannot find the specific information for the product that you have. So the main requirements for the DPP are that it has to have a globally unique identifier placed in a data carrier on the product, and the data carrier should include a link to the product documentation or the digital product passport at the webpage of the manufacturer. And at the same time, it should be the key also to a backup copy. So what the European Union wants to avoid is that a company, for whatever reason, leaves the market and the data will no longer be available. Therefore, it will be mandatory at the point in time when you place the product on the market that you also place a copy of the DPP at the DPP service provider, so that even after the company has left the market, the DPP still will be available for consumers. So that is basically the idea of the DPP. Any questions?
Next slide too. I think I'm one more in there. Yeah, this is kind of an overview. Oh, this is the digital data change. Sorry. Yeah, the DPP says they're going to end up putting a QR code on everything. It's going to be required by European Union. Probably soon it'll probably be required here too. So let's get ahead of the curve and let's go ahead and use it now rather than wait another 10 years. By the way, my mantra is that I'm going to digitize the supply industry before I die. I've run out of time. That curtain closing on me. DDC.
Okay, so maybe for that, I can share my old screen because actually the slide is animated. Okay, so I think it will be much easier.
Great.
So I just share my screen. Just a second.
Just be able to take over. And then to get you back, we'll call Jose.
So 1 second. So let's just start with this slide here. That would explain the general principle of the DDC. So you have a manufacturer, an owner operator, and for example, you buy an electric drive, but this could also be a valve or whatever equipment we use in our production plants. The first thing that you have to do is to globally uniquely identify the equipment to be able to assign information to it unambiguously. And therefore, we developed together with many partners, also including Flowserve and Amazon, but also companies from all around the world, the IEC 61406 identification link. So you see here a QR code with a frame and a black triangle and also an RFID tag. That is basically what we standardized across the industry, and this identifier is based on a web domain. So therefore, when you scan it, the first functionality would be that you directly can jump to the web page of the manufacturer. But this is the functionality that we only use in case that we don't operate the platform. So the second technology that we have is the intelligent documentation from the manufacturer. So that means we not only receive a PDF file with any further information, with the PDF also comes the metadata. So who created the document, to which equipment does the document belong, what type of document is it, what is the language revision. So all the typical information you need to be able to find quickly a document. And this is also to become an IC standard. So we just handed in the work item proposal, and in January we will then officially start to develop out of the existing specification then also an IC standard. So and what we then did is that we included as one metadata into the metadata of the document the content of the QR code. So that means the string of characters that you have in the QR code is one of the metadates. And for the first time now you have a real connection between the physical equipment that you operate in your plant and all the information to the equipment, because it can be found with the content of that QR code. And this is basically the big magic that we did, is to combine the digital information in a way with a physical product that you always will be able to find it. And to have here a convenient access, we are using so-called information exchange platforms. So ShareCat is here today, and they are providing such kind of platforms. This is very important because the platform itself must be independent from the manufacturer and also from the owner operator. Why? Let's take my company, BASF, as example. We have more than 3,000 suppliers. I assume Exxon, Shell, the other ones, Chevron, they also have thousands of suppliers. So it will not be possible to get the information from the suppliers platform because there are too much. And what we also tried is that we said that, okay, then we make a BASF platform and everybody has to upload it there. But the suppliers said, look, we have thousands of customers. We will not be able to serve all the different customer platforms. So therefore, it was necessary to have a few independent platform providers that give you the technology, and the manufacturer can freely choose which platform he wants to use. And it will be available for the owner operator by just using the application of the platform and scanning the QR code. So that is the DDC concept itself. And now I jump to the slide that you just showed in your slide desk. Why it is so important to use these platforms. So what we all experienced in our careers is that the typical way how information is handed over is from one stakeholder to the next. So that means we have an equipment manufacturer. He provides his documentation maybe to a package unit supplier. And what he has to do is he has to create some folders and store the information somewhere. So he always have handling efforts and also quality losses, because maybe he put one file in the wrong folder, he renames the file and cannot find it anymore. And this is what we see every day when we are dealing with documentation. The package unit itself, supplier itself, then later hands over the information to an engineering partner, and the engineering partner in a bigger project maybe has hundreds of thousands of documents. He also has to create some kind of folder structure, store the information. Maybe he splits the documents, renames them. So a lot of effort and also the risk of quality losses. And in the end, when the information comes to the owner operator, well, we do the same. We create folders, structures, rename the files, split them, whatever. And this is also a huge effort on our side. And in the end, when we have, for example, a maintenance contractor, we will provide some of the informations to him. He also will have to store it. He will also have quality losses. So this is a huge amount of work and multiple copies of the same information that we create. And if there is an update of information, then this structure has one big problem, is that when the engineering partner would not be available anymore because the project is finished, maybe an update of information does not reach the owner operator because the package unit supplier maybe don't know who is the owner operator of it. So therefore we said that does not make any sense. And we went on and used the IEP concept. So that means the first one in the row, he places the information on the platform, and everybody who has a stake in the topic will have access to it. So that means we don't copy the information and send it to each other. We have it on one central location and we just provide access to it. And we use the metadata to easily search and find the documents. And an update will be instantly available because as soon as it is published on the platform, everybody will have access to it. And even if the engineering partner leaves the project because it is finished, an update still will reach the other stakeholders. And when you're in the field, in your plant, you just scan the QR code, and with the IEC ID, it is very easy to find and access the documentations. And this is what we now use in our large capital projects. So we are building currently a huge site with more than 30 plants. And this is what we use starting in the engineering phase and what we will use till the end of operation of the plants. And this is what we actually do with our partners together, because you need to have enough companies participating and using the same technology so that it gets self-accelerating. Good. And that were the 2 slides. Any questions?
That's great, Christoph. That's a fantastic presentation, by the way. Thank you. Good work.
You're welcome.
Are you back? Okay.
Nick has a question.
Oh, Nick?
Hi,
There's a
yes.
question.
Yeah, it's kind of a silly one, but what are the contingencies if you cannot scan the QR code? If your equipment is old and your QR code is defaced, what's your backup?
So what we typically have in the concept is that there might also be an RFID tag that is more durable from the perspective of that it gets scratched, etc. Then typically on the equipments, you regularly do maintenance. So whenever we see that the nameplate has some scratches, marks, whatever, then from most of the manufacturers, you can get a duplicate of the nameplate and replace it. What at any time you also can do is that you create your own tag when you see that the original ROM from the manufacturer is no more working. And that could be a QR code, that could also be an RFID tag. And what we also have is a combination of equipment and function location in our ERP system. So that means when we're in the plant and maybe the nameplate is not readable or scannable for whatever reason, you still have the function location tag that you can scan, and then you see what equipment is related to it. And typically what you can distinguish between whether it is maybe a pump from FlowServe or KSB that you will see directly. So you also can access the information over the function location and see what equipment is built in. So that is what we typically have, multiple ways and backups to ensure that you can access the information. But what we typically have is this combination of QR code and RFID tag. And by the regular maintenance, we see if some of the tags are destroyed, then we just simply can replace it.
That was a good question, Nick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay. Shall I add in 2 examples?
A live demo quickly?
Yeah, I could show something in the systems live, how we use these kind of techniques, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would show maybe 2 things. One is more related to the story that you said about how much effort it is to get all the data. So there's some possibilities what we can tell our suppliers how they should do it, so that they can provide the information in a standardized way, so that we can extract the information easier to the platforms that we need, like the ShareCat platform, for example, trace parts. It's a lot of effort to get all the information from the suppliers. And if we are in contact, for example, with suppliers, we tell them, use the technology that is as standardized as possible. And there are outside standards that they can rely on. For example, we have here a manufacturer for electric plugs or other electrical installations. And I would tell the valve suppliers very similar things. So they set up their data catalog 100% according to standards, and they can provide asset administration shells which are a standardized format of the information structure. It's very technical, yeah, but the engineers, they don't have to worry about that so much. What we can then have, for example, is here an easy switch between language. I switch to German and everything is now in German because R. Stahl has provided it in a standardized way. We have a lot of attributes. You see here, for example, width. Width can be anything. But when I click on the width, there's a lot of like meta information of that attribute that helps us in using that in our data systems. And a chance of using something like this, for example, there's a ID somewhere or data specification IEC 61360, that's the type of reference there. That helps then in making things that we rely on to provide the information for our engineers and get a fast track of that information. So that's one example. And the other one, I think, is maybe even more interesting. And I will show that maybe on the slide first. So here's some impressions from some industry fair where we were just taking some pictures of all the suppliers that can provide these QR codes already with a black triangle. And one of our suppliers is laser safety valves. And they create the documentation of a valve out of their ERP system with the press of a button and in a standardized format. And they can push that to the platform. And on the platform, the most important part is that not only the documents are there with all the metadata, but also structured information and an object which represents the valve, the single valve. And in the platform, it will then look like this. Take some time to open. And there's some metadata coming with that, some documents that have all the title, for example, what's it about, and that comes out of the system 100% standardized. And very interesting with this unique IDs that they provide. So this QR code that the manufacturer is providing, at the same time, it's a link. Yeah? So the ID that the manufacturer provides is at the same time a URL that can direct to the serial number based information on their website. And this allows the suppliers then to provide even further information. So when I open this, laser having a portal where they identify now the serial number which is connected to that. And they dig out the information from the ERP system. Takes some time, but then I can click on web services and they can provide me anything related to that, like spare parts, for example, and so on. And in the future, and technology is ready, yeah, we can establish then some links, for example, some connections between the systems to get, for example, some updates by the suppliers. Yeah, but that's what we are working on together with the suppliers at the moment. Using the technology that is out there available. And these platforms, they help us a lot in getting these technologies out there. And we all know how difficult it is to get the projects executed and hand over the documentation. And then you get a bunch of files and you don't have the information available, but we want to have at least this identification link. And with that, afterwards, you can still build up a lot of that information that might have been lost during project execution. And same during engineering. You can also use it there, get the information from the suppliers through the platforms or by the suppliers themselves, and use that in your engineering with a very clear due order. So try to make this a little bit
more tangible.
Tangible. Right. Thanks. Yeah.
Carl, thank you. So what I posted into the chat is a video of one of the valve manufacturers that are members of the consortium. I don't know, Annabelle, if you maybe can run the video. I hope it is the English one. And that shows how they implemented this DDC concept in their production.
You can click on it.
Can you run it?
I can't see that side window.
Oh, you can't see it? Okay. Let me.
Yeah,
Or
so the
try
link
it.
is link
We
is
have
in
a-
the chat.
Yep.
It's a YouTube video.
Yeah, so expense is better. So expense is free. QR code and.
Yeah.
What do you see? Good. Good, fantastic.
So I just see, unfortunately, it was the German video. I will send you also the English version of it. But what you can see is they already implemented in their production. So they use it internally to trace their products during the production process. And at the same time, it serves as globally unique identifier for the owner operator when he needs access to any kind of information. So, and this is already state of the art at many valve manufacturers. So Flowserve in Europe is providing it. We have Samsung valves. Yokogawa is also providing it. So there are more and more companies, laser safety valves, for example, Schneider valves. So this is accelerating a lot because it is very convenient for the manufacturer, and this is based on their web domain. They have their own benefit because when you scan it, you go on their web page. And for us, it is just a global unique identifier where we can access the documents.
That was good. There's Jamie, we've got a sub-team, or we got a research program on supplier qualifications. That ought to be a qualification. Can you do that? Okay, let's go ahead with the slideshow. We're almost done, guys. This was just showing what he did it. This was the slide showing what Siemens has done, something similar.
Yeah, so that is what you actually can scan and check yourself. So when you take your private smartphone and scan the QR code, then it will lead you to the page that you see here in the middle. And this is basically their digital twin. So you have all the certificates, all type of documentation that you need. And at the same time, that is marked here in yellow. It is the link to the asset administration shell, where the digital twin is available in a computer processable format. So that means what you mentioned, actually, this typing manually is no more necessary as you have it here in a format that is machine readable. And maybe some interesting news, as you're based in the US, the OPC Foundation just signed a collaboration with the Industrial Digital Twin Association that you can use OPC UA to create an asset administration shell. So that means it is now much more likely that Europe and the US will go for the same data format as they are now interoperable with each other. Yeah, so that has just been signed, I think, 1 week ago or 10 days ago. Huh?
Very good. Thank you, Christoph. Okay, go slide. This is a future state. What I'd like to see is accessibility, trackability, traceability, maintainability, and reliability feedback. And that's a big one. And go to the next slide. I'll show you what I mean by reliability feedback. So, but to do that, we need to rethink. We need to rethink everything we're doing here. This is a QR code digital document. This is my version, Christoph, of some of your slides in a way, I guess, a vision. But you got the manufacturer, you know, so we gotta have some place, but the manufacturer is gonna put something somewhere. Go ahead, hit it. It goes to the distributor. Hit it. It does not have, now you guys don't have to do with any paperwork anymore. That's all gonna be automatic, theoretically. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Procurement costs, procurement basically doesn't have to really get involved with the procurement, with the paperwork. It's the engineering that needs it. Engineering will log in only the required documentation, and only then if they really need to log it in. They'll be very selective on that. Okay, go to the next one and hit the next one. So that goes to the field warehouse. Field warehouse going to use that QR code to receive, does not need documents because that QA/QC, go to the next one. The QA, anyway, they're going to be able to look at the documentation from the QR code. Construction rarely needs any of the valve documents. However, the next one, QA/QC guy does, but he'll use that QR code to access what he needs. All the ones that are required, then it goes over to owner operations. They've got their asset management. I'm going to stop it right there. Right now, I'm in the process of working with a major refinery. It's just one refinery, not the largest in the world. He has and we mentioned LDAR, leak detection and repair program. That's an OSHA requirement. Virtually almost, maybe not every, but probably 80 or 90% of the valves in a refinery are part of this program. Therefore, they went out and they placed metal tags on every stinking valve. 140,000 valves in his refinery. He had to make metal tags, and he still doesn't have the geolocation for those tags. All he has is somebody wrote down that this valve is next to exchanger 34 in unit 10 on elevation, 100 on the second platform. That's what they're using now. So one of the things they've asked us to do is to go in there and say, what can we do to tag their valves, link them to their LDAR system, put a geotag on there, and then link it to the PNID, the documentation, serial number, et cetera, all the stuff they got. So we're working from the back end now, trying to round all this stuff up that they need in order for their OSHA LDR program. But this would, if we did this in place, all that goes away. They don't need me anymore, to do that. It would all be pretty well done. Okay. Then you got your owner turnover inspection reports, reliability fee. And here's the thing. The real thing now is if I'm a valve manufacturer and I put a valve with a certain seal in this service under these conditions, I can provide go ahead and hit that. I can provide feedback to the manufacturer on how well that valve is working in that thing. And you can actually compare valves. I got one from one company, one from another, and I can really see which one is going to be best suited for that operation. So to me, that makes the full circle right there. Now, it's not as technology as DPP, but that's the basic concept. That's what we would like to do. Get the manual searching for, looking for, managing, logging in, metadata out of the doc, put all that away. It can all be automated, and the technology is here today. We've just seen that some people are doing it. Why aren't we all doing it? That's really the challenge. And why aren't owners requiring, as part of their qualification for supplier, what are you doing to help me maintain my reliability and my maintenance and my managing my documentation, my stuff? Why are you dumping? And I literally walked out there, this was a couple of months ago, and they had boxes stacked 6 feet high down a hallway that was probably 70 feet long. And it was all the paperwork from a turnaround that somebody has to log into a system. Why? Why do we have to do that, guys? That's just stupid.
It's 2024. Give it a
That's all, and get that right here, and we need to envision, develop a path to convince not just Val, but any manufacturer to digitize their data in a way that we don't have to do all this stuff over and over again. We just pick valves as a place to start. So that's the end of what I had. So now I could open it up for discussion. Any, I guess you want to take over at this point?
So if we go back to the agenda, I think we had, barriers. We wanted to discuss barriers and opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. What do we see as the barrier? What are the things going to keep us from being able to do this? Because we're going to have to address those barriers. And we got to convince people in a way around the barrier, over the barriers and through the barriers. So,
and maybe even before we go to barriers, just for perspective, we've talked about this before, that, you know, there's a certain portion of the valve industry that's off the shelf, you know, quote unquote. And then there's a portion that's engineered, you know, very high spec and obviously needs a lot of transaction, but I can't remember the numbers, but it's substantial. The amount that, you know, is considered off the shelf where all this data should be readily available is a huge portion.
Yeah.
Low fruit.
Yeah.
Hanging fruit.
Low fruit.
Yeah, I mean, we're still scanning in MTRs and, you know.
Yeah.
You know, oh, that MTR has the wrong heat. Let me go, you know.
And we're doing the same thing when we get it from you, and the owner does the same thing when he gets it.
Yeah. It's
In
like,
some cases, I got a third party contract, I mean, engineering, I buy it, I got a contractor, he's got to scan it in. So you got all these people doing the repetitive process over and over.
Then you got it, when you ship valves, you gotta pull the MTRs, print the MTRs.
Yep.
They gotta go with shipment. Half the time,
I know.
the driver will do them or. You know.
Well, let me tell you what happens. They get delivered to the warehouse. And the warehouse guy says, well, I don't know what those crap, he puts it over in the corner. And then they get the valves in there. And then somebody comes through a few days later and say, well, where's all the paperwork? You guys, I don't know, Bill received it. Hell, he's gone on vacation for 2 weeks. So back to you, hey, we need the paperwork.
Yeah. Okay. Put those valves in quarantine. We can't use them.
Just like when you receive something, if you scan it, if you can scan maybe there's a QR code for the whole pallet of packing list, it automatically dumps that into your system.
That's right.
So yeah, it saves hours and money on all sides.
So and I think it's to you guys, like in my case, I'm giving up revenue. But that's, so it is, and my boss told me sometime, he says, let me understand this, Fish. What you want me to do is invest this money so that we can reduce my billing rate by 50%. Is that what I heard? My capital is going to reduce my billing rate by 50%? It doesn't sound so good when you put it that way. You know? But somehow, for the industry's sake, we have to reduce that billing somehow. So like I said, I'm a profit center on this, but the distributor, you guys don't make any profit on it. It's going to cost you money, you know, in most cases. And, you know, it definitely cost the owner all the way through the supply line.
Well, overall, keep in mind that you're not reducing your overall, what you're able to do. You're able to do more work.
That's right.
And now, so you're going to be reducing the revenue coming in, but it's just going to be lower cost for each customer.
You can do more meaningful work. Right. The real key. We want engineers engineering. Yeah. And we don't want engineers typing data. Exactly. Not what they need to be.
Even me, for example, I've probably 20 people on my team are expediters, and a good portion of their job, they're chasing vendor documents, right? I mean, they can do other things.
Yeah. It's the whole concept. Yeah. And keep the whole concept of vendor data. That whole work process that we have today will be probably reduced by as much as 80%, if not more, if people were adopt some of these systems.
Describing some of these challenges, if people want to keep discussing.
Yeah, I think some of the barriers are maybe twofold. One is kind of like just the structure of things when you look at, you know, and I think John alluded to this a little bit. You know, when you're talking about allocation of capital, investments and all that, and then So each business entity, so it starts to become difficult to come up with a solution where all the different business entities are on board, because, you know, you might find I'll use a math term, you might find the global minimum, but the local minimums aren't there, and that's what everyone seems to be looking for.
Yeah.
And then the second one is, let's call it data discipline. So let's say we reach this idealized solution where each valve manufacturer gets their stuff in, they get their orders, and then let's ignore the front end for a moment. They get their orders, they are compiling their data for their work orders internally, and let's say that's tied in directly to customers, and customers now receive the results of those work orders. They receive the test results, they receive the documentation, and all that. There's an awful lot of data that sits next to other data that maybe is proprietary, or, you know, they don't want to share. And it's sitting like right next to the data that they do want to share. Or even if there was a centralized company that managed the data for many, many different suppliers, again, you have data sitting next to data that could potentially be proprietary. At least in that one, each individual supplier gets to pick the data that they share. Right, but what I'm getting at here is data discipline, proprietary data, and making sure as we integrate these things across the supply chain that we're able to keep things separate.
So we need
Sorry,
a
it's a
way
bit
to-
long-winded, but I kind of tried to.
That's good, but we need
explain
a
it.
way to isolate any proprietary data and protect that. So that has to be built into the system.
Yeah.
And
So if
Christoph,
we-
and then Iman has, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so when we started to develop the DDC together with our suppliers, we faced, I would say, the same challenges that you all just mentioned. And together with the suppliers, we found for, I would say, most of the topics a good approach. The first thing is a supplier only will do this when there is any kind of benefit for him. So he needs some kind of financial benefit that it would make sense for him. So and there we had two approaches. The one approach is that just imagine a regular valve manufacturer, depending on who is his customer, he always have to create some kind of custom documentation. So they are all different. What I want in blue, you want in green, and another one wanted in yellow or in orange.
Yeah.
So that means it's a huge effort for them. And what many companies meanwhile are facing, it is difficult for them to get engineers and technicians on the market. So they can't use their engineers and technicians to do the documentation. They need them to develop and design their products. So it gets more and more difficult for them to do this custom documentation for each of their customers. And therefore, they are highly interested in standardizing the documentation, because that would take one of their challenges off their shoulders. And the other topic is what we did is that we included this in our terms and conditions, that they have to provide intelligent documentation and the ID link in the QR code and provide the documentation on a platform. And if they don't do this, then they will get a penalty, or they will be outlisted as standard supplier from our suppliers list. So therefore, they have an interest, because they want to stay on the standard provider list, and they don't want to get a penalty. They don't want that we reduce the amount of money that we pay if the documentation is not conform. And at the same time, they have their own intrinsic motivation, because they can't provide this custom-made documentation in the future. So this was, I would say, the approach that really brought the big push. so that they accepted it. And the other topic that was very important is to provide them support in the transition phase. So when you look on the DDC website, there you find a free tool to create your QR code. There is a free tool to create the intelligent documentation. And hopefully soon we will also have from some of the platform providers at least a free trial version so that they can get used to the platform, play around with it, and understand what the benefits are for them. So this just putting it into the terms and conditions was not enough. So we really implemented a kind of support system for our suppliers with a free tool set so that it is a much lower hurdle for them that they have to take to provide us conform information. And the rest is change management. So I would say 2 or 3 times a month, I have a phone call with a new supplier that does not know the technology, but he received from us the terms and conditions, and then we explain it to him.
Oh, he's got a piece of apple. I think that's a great point. To me, the biggest barrier is going to get the suppliers to participate, and you've reduced one of their barriers by giving them some tools. And so you have some incentive and stuff, but they may have the same problems with getting engineering manpower that Fish does and everybody else. So they're not going to want to undertake this without having the right kind of tools and stuff. So you got to develop a good business case, a good incentive clause for them to participate. Otherwise, it's going to go nowhere. So I don't know if the owners have enough stroke to say you have to be, digitally certified or whatever the stamp is we're going to stick on them if they participate. But to me, that's the key, because with that, I think the owners understand it, the EPC people understand it, and then now you're going to try to get someone to give you their data which some of them might even consider proprietary, like the one actuator person. So to me, that's where you're going to hit the rub. It's going to hit the road on how you get that value proposition done. Just my opinion.
Yep.
Let's see. Yes, it's your turn, Iman.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. It has a great potential, and we can help make it happen. I think it can be a win-win for all parties, not just the end users or the engineering contractors, but also the valve manufacturers and suppliers. This tool will be very helpful. There are some barriers. We can talk about the barriers later, but from my side, I think we can make this presentation sometime in January or February to the IOGP Piping and Valve Standards group. There are many end users who are members who will join this call if you are interested in making a presentation to this group. The other place is the API refining meetings. I think the next meeting is going to be in San Francisco in May, the first week of May. If we can make a presentation there, it's not just end users, but we have many manufacturers who will be present in there. So we can reach out. I see Eric from Exxon is on the call here. Trace from Exxon is the current chair of API Piping and Valve Standards. We can arrange, to give us, a time slot where we can make a presentation in San Francisco in first week of May. Some of the barriers I see, somebody mentioned the difference between engineered valves and off-the-shelf valves. I guess if we follow the 80-20 rules, 80% of the valves I can think of are off-the-shelf valves. So if we can focus on these, this would be a big win for everybody. However, if you look at these valve standards, most of them, for example, end-to-end and face-to-face dimensions are ASME B1610, but there are sizes and pressure ratings where end-to-end dimensions are manufacturer standard. Okay, they will vary from one manufacturer to another. So I am not sure if just identifying everything by the PIP valve designation code, that this is going to be enough to describe all the differences. There are certain dimensions that are not even covered in ASME or API standards, like the hand wheel diameter, for example. I had problems in the past because the 3D library at the engineering office, it was based on the hand wheel dimensions from one manufacturer, but the valves were procured from a different manufacturer. So during construction, there was interference with the steel structure and they couldn't install the valve, so all kinds of problems can, emerge from these differences. So I'm sure there is a way to capture that. As we dive into the details, we have to make sure that we have a tool that can capture all these differences, when time comes. But yeah, you have my email, you have my contact information, and let's, work together and present it to a larger group. Thank you.
You definitely want to make that presentation. We'll work with you on that one.
Okay.
I think Anthony is next.
Yeah, sure. There's I guess some really good discussion actually, and I guess I have a few points on some of the stuff that's just been mentioned. So I guess going back to the original point around barriers or challenges. So the IOGP actually did a similar exercise prior to their annual conference, which we attended in Kuala Lumpur earlier this year. So what they did was to develop personas, and so understanding all of the individuals and roles that people do within the industrial value chain, whether it's an engineer or a procurement person, to really visualize and really understand what the challenges are for each persona, each user of this potential system that we're imagining. You can do that by persona or by use case, or even by organization. So you have operators, sub-suppliers, raw material suppliers, etc. You will then have another stratification, which will be large organizations. And what hasn't necessarily been mentioned are the smaller organizations as well, where a lot of this data does feed up the chain from. And so when I look across the attendee list, I recognize a lot of the organization names here today, but these small organizations that are feeding into the larger machine, if you will, aren't necessarily present. They don't have the same budgets for digitalization. They don't have the people or the know-how, so to speak. And so then that in itself is another challenge that the larger groups can obviously do that. The solution providers can do that. We know how to do that. But then it's some of the small organizations, and how do we keep them in the fold when we're going forward on this as well? Yeah, so I guess Ayman has just mentioned about the challenge around proprietary information as well, and definitely the focus, again, to emphasize what he said, the focus is more on standardized information, and of course can use solutions such as ShareCat, Aviva, TraceParts and so on to host proprietary information. But the idea is that the information you would just put on your website anyway around your products, data sheets and so on, is what you would then keep in a system and just use the ability to share that between your clients, partners, etc. So that's more of the idea, that proprietary information that can stay within your PLM systems. For example, I was speaking with some old colleagues yesterday from Rolls-Royce Bergen Engines. They have the same issue. They don't want to have that barrier crossed where their know-how, insider know-how on how they develop their engines is at risk of being shared. So they wanted an extra layer above that to potentially share information with their partners and so on. And I guess lastly, there was a question around access and so on. If I can steal the screen for a second, for about 30 seconds or so. So I won't go into the platform because there are lots of widgets and so on you can use to play about the system. Hopefully you can see this here, but this is a view of what you would see if you were to go into the ShareCat platform. Most other solutions are similarly structured. If you look on the left-hand side here, it's structured by purchase order. It can be structured by project, by facility. You can create objects that you want that reflect the way your business operates. And so then the idea here is that each of these layers have access controls that you are able to control. You're able to say, okay, we want all of our partners to be able to access all of our product information if you so wish. You can isolate it so that a sub-supplier can access just a specific ream of information that's completely within your control. And again, most solutions can do this, so that hopefully answers the question around access control. Of course, that data discipline and just general IT discipline about access controls needs to be reinforced and is an important point, but that is a potential solution there.
Good.
Thank you.
Good points.
Christoph, if your comment is to Anthony's, you can go ahead, or if not, we can have Hytham.
Somebody else had their hand up.
Yeah.
I think the main effort, I think it might need to have manufacturers engagement instead of. I don't see manufacturer presence in the discussion, because they are the main producer of the work that will drive the realistic solutions. There are some proposals, but it does, to me, it might not be applicable all the time for the valves. The second thing is that data quality is required. To have a data quality, you need to standardize, and the standardization should be driven by the standards, valve standards. So one example, in the presentation at the beginning, it was like 3 flanged valve, and it shows a different, because one is raised face flange, the other is flanged valve, the other is half flat face flange. So they are the same thing, but in different words. So that is the main. I think this is the key thing in the valve industry. It's not, even those terms are not standardized, neither even between upstream and downstream, and even sometimes in downstream it's not standardized. There are also, I know there are efforts in digitization. We have already some digital systems for our specs are digitized. We have the warehouses. They have system for the attributes for valves, and I'm aware of many manufacturers having the digital solutions to have the problem. But I think the main opportunity could be in the MTRs. In many cases, the MTRs are from the foundries are transferred manually to the valve manufacturer and the valve or the end product manufacturers, and that and they are already is our standard. So MTRs are most likely the same format, but it is typically manual. So that might be a better start and a better opportunity for to start with.
That's good.
Yeah, so maybe directly a comment on what Hytham said. So fully agree. And one of the learnings that we had from the implementation of the DDC. So we have chemical industry, we have pharmaceutical industry, and we have food industry right from the beginning. And for the same type of valve, pump, etc., they need different certificates. They need sometimes different technical attributes, and even the same company, depending on which region in the world they implemented equipment, whether it's in the US, in Europe, in Asia, they need also different documents. So therefore, what we agreed with the suppliers very early is that we said we allow multi-classification. So that means you have one object in your catalog, and you can receive, for example, the technical attributes according API, according IOGP, according E-class, whatever you need. Yeah. So that took away this big issue of agreeing between multiple industries on document types, on attributes, etc. So actually, we just agreed on using the same technology, using same types of identifiers and basic structures, but we did not try to bring everybody on one standard, because very early we came to the conclusion that that would not be possible, because industries have different requirements and different regions of the world would also lead to different requirements. Instead of aligning this, we just said we go with multi-classification and allow each industry and each region to have their type of documents, their type of attributes. And since we are going with this approach, there is almost no barrier that we are facing. So that was one of the key learnings that we had. It would be impossible to bring everybody on one standard.
So 2 minutes left.
We're down to
Next
1 minute.
steps?
So I think the next step is to probably get together a small group, and I guess Anna will work on that, to get together a small group of people who want to help, to what can we do, to really make this thing take off.
Well, can we just maybe ask everybody who wants to continue to be part of this journey? Anybody? Yeah, okay,
Also, I suggest Victaulic.
okay.
Yeah,
Scott,
for those of you online, if you'd like to be part of this journey.
Just raise your hands and I'll
get there,
yeah, and I'll-
just let us know and we'll put you on the list, and we'll be forming some sub-teams after the first of the year, and we'll get some very succinct targets, and we'll go to work.
See, hold on, let me do it this way. Who's raising their hands? All right.
But
we
I
got
do like
those
to
folks
start
there.
meetings and end meetings on time if
There you
possible.
go.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a.
and then,
And by the way, this is fantastic input from everybody today. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
So to have all this technology experts in the same room and discussing the same issue and developing opportunities, is really, really good. I was impressed.
so everybody here in the room pretty much? Okay.
Just maybe one quick question too, before we go to the rest of the floor. To our MRC friends, it's great to have distributors at the table. Do you think that manufacturers, of any that might want to get involved in this? Or?
Yeah, we represent a lot of them, of course, and we stocked a couple of them that have the QR codes on there.
Okay.
And so they're right now it's started with MTRs, IOMs, drawings, but they want to expand that. I was talking to John in the lobby,
Okay, great.
CV values, the hand wheel dimensions, like someone mentioned, and the thrust, the mass, to actuate the valve. So there's interest in it, especially if it's eventually will be mandatory. I mean, you go to a restaurant, you have QR codes on the table, no more menus. So if they can do it, I mean, we definitely can do it. But yeah, we have some that already do and that would be interested.
That's good. Good news.
Participate. So
Yeah, I'll speak on digitization too. I mean, we have systems in place, we've been on this road for a long time as a company too. I mean, we rolled out MRC Go, MRC Global Online, where we've got end users adopting it, and, it's a punch out system into their systems, right? They're actually comparing the valves within MRC Global Online. It's doing exactly what we displayed up here. Maybe that's a good opportunity. We can bring in a technical representative, maybe do a demo on that, show you all what we're doing. So some of the end users on the line right now, we've actually implemented and integrated our systems with their SAP or whatever systems, where that's available too. That being said, we're implementing some of these RFIDs into these, storeroom maintenance, right? We've got weighted bin options for our customers, and every item has an RFID. So someone walks into these storerooms, pulls an item off the shelf, it recognizes the weight. They badged in when they came in the room, and they walk out and the RFIDs recognize everything that's been consumed. So it's coming. And yeah, we're totally on board.
Great. Well, thank everybody for attending. It was a great meeting and we hope to see more of everyone and make this thing happen. Like I said, I'm running out of time, guys.
Thank y'all. Be safe out there.
Hold on, the people online, if you don't mind turning on your camera real quick. I want to see if we can get a group picture.
He's trying to get a picture of
Trying to get a
everybody.
group picture. Let's see, stop sharing. No. Who's sharing right now?
So anybody in their jammies?
All right, well, I'll take a picture from, I can't see it on that screen. I'll just take it from here. All right.
Got it?
Amazing.
Got it. Thank you, guys. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, and then before all of you leave, we're taking a picture here. We're doing the mandatory AB picture.
Well, that got me energized, guys. I'm kind of excited.
Yeah.
See, who is presenting still? I think it's yours.
I'm there, but I don't have any presentation mode. I don't think so.
I think it's because you're.
Oh, John, I like what you had to say about the engineering process up front. 2 to 4 weeks just to do the quote.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's horrible. And matter of fact, I talked to the material, management
Should have
guy
brought
out
my
here.
little stand.
Next time, Todd.
Yeah.
Nobody's ordering valves early enough anymore.
Yeah,
With the
and I
lead
did,
time,
it's in my
they
car.
wait, and then they order valves.
So
But
I decided not to bring
a
in.
couple of gentlemen today, and Glenn Beal, who's a 30-year pipe engineer with Dow and trailer, who's at Valve World and produce the work right now.
Yeah.
They work with the end users and the engineering. They do like a red,
Thanks,
yellow,
that's so
green.
cool.
And they, hey,
Sender. I love it.
Yeah.
Every time I
Here, these
I'll send you the link to the Amazon.
I'm telling you, and I've been advocating this for years.
I just have
Your
a second.
IFA PNID,
That's nice.
you've got
very portable.
95% of the valve. At that point, 90% of the valve. They're waiting until they get into the model and detailed engineering to order valve. No, go out for inquiry on IFA PNID, and that's what you guys can tell the yellow, green.
Oh, absolutely.
And then we can say, these valves right here, lock those into.
You want to take one of these?
And get those things on order like now. Forget about.
Set it up
Get the damn valve.
Set it right
I've been
here.
preaching that for 5
You
years.
also mentioned something about, clarifications going back and forth.
Yeah.
A lot of these specs are outdated or.
I know, but they are.
contradictory and-
Well, what the engineer does, but somehow when it gets into procurement,
I am not an
It
FM
doesn't
user. I
get-
just have to kind
it doesn't go forward to you guys. What the guy, the engineer, portions of it seem to get there. I don't know what happened, but something happens in the translation. It's like that whispering around the room. By the time it gets to you guys, it's totally different from when it started out from the engineer. But, I look at this stuff, I mean, I look at our whole industry, I look at anchor bolts. These friggin' anchor bolts.
That's pretty good.
And I guarantee you, any refinery could be built with 3 anchor bolts. I need a big one, I need a little one, and I need a middle one. 80% of the anchor bolts, but no, every stinking anchor bolt is independent. One is 1 inch longer than the other.
It's like computers,
Quarter inch or inch.
Actually, also do it on the.
We do this in every,
No, right?
valve, we do it everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
All right, folks, quick photo.
Stock.
Yeah. Go to Hawaii airports. Look at how many batteries they got.
How far out does it
A
go?
little, and the Midland would do it, 3 freaking batteries is all I need. They've got hundreds of them, So,
Sorry.
but that valve actuator is the big thing that we have to really worry about. We tried to install the valve in the field.
I'm at hit go. You gotta.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm hitting it over here, but
Yeah, she can do it on the wire.
I'm just not seeing.
We
I'm just not
get
seeing
the,
an image. now.
we're getting a picture, that's it. Sorry.
Do you want to do a test one, Annabella?
Sure.
3, 2, 1. Test picture complete.
Do you have enough time to get here?
It
does.
Yeah, 3 seconds is plenty.
Okay, well, just get over here and I'll press it.
Photoshop.
Come right here.
Right here.
Ready? 1, 2. We can check it. Nice. Excellent.
Perfect. Awesome. First
All right.
time.
Got it.
Three sons. The one that
Amazing.
said he wasn't gonna show up to a family party.
All right.
Not in a good way. He's there in spirit.
Right.
Always best.
Understanding the code chart.
Well, thanks for
Also on the internet.
Yep.
Yes.
30.
Yeah. There's another thing.
They're saying like where it's team logo or something.
They actually have a solution to address the barrier of multiple standards. What standards you use. So like Unipath is a great example, but also which one of those you use.
Very nice to meet you.
Because it's looking at different materials. So I know allows the end goal will cover all materials and everything.
The whole thing is.
But it ain't both the ocean, right? You don't wanna like try to crack a solution that only that won't work with the other industry. So what they're actually. They actually created. And they allow different specialties to upload their own lines. So like race sports, they have a data dictionary that they're working on, they can actually.
Just because they're so.
For that system, so that the data dictionaries.
Yeah, so that's a lot of.
Yeah. Though he needs to be able to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Communicate.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that.
Nice to meet everybody.
Thanks.
I gotta run back.
Yeah.
Get on some calls, but thank you all for having us. Yeah.
Real.
Yes, ma'am.
Got a show about some make the calls.
Thanks for coming again.
Great.
And they're also.
Thank you. Excited.
With those international.
Okay.
Develop a,
I'm gonna refresh my coffee.
oil and gas,
Run to the restroom real quick.
development, schemas and stuff, the domain for the domain.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that Louisville International was doing is creating these different domains, like infrastructure is the one I'm currently working on developing.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like, so, and thing is we gotta get away from file formats altogether. So we talked about that before.
Yep.
It needs to be a data, schemas
Yep.
that we're working with that are open schemas, and that's another thing, because different people have
Yep.
their standards or whatever that's proprietary, and then you need to have them all open
Yep.
so they can
Yep.
talk to each other. The interoperability piece, and that's something we've been fighting for decades. But what I saw what the food services equipment did over hotels and stuff is they actually did standardize on everything.
Okay.
And they have different formats that they have. And so, yeah, that's one. So that's a good industry to look and see
Okay.
what they did as well. If we're going to look across industries. That saved my life. I don't want to for the Benches Center. We were building Bench Center, and then at the end of the day, we had the LOD 500 deliverable to the city, San Antonio, for the as-built 3D models. But we didn't even think about the food services equipment group, and we didn't have any requirements for them to provide 3D models. So that required me to do all the 3D models. And luckily, I found an organization that had worked with food services that had all the kitchen equipment, commercial equipment, all that stuff.
So good.
Um,
Well, Jamie, do we have enough there? Main RT,
Yeah.
I'm in Heights, so I just commuted downtown.
One of the things we're working on, I know you got
Kind of
work. You know,
50,
kind of
over the risk
What
610.
kind of work, what kind of work, form to use.
Yeah.
Wasn't too bad.
Right, you sort of.
So-
We're gonna read, after.
I was proud to, but I also am working with international building, with the IC stuff. the digital twin consortium, they're also working with them, and some other groups are working with them. I saw some crossover between digital twin and consortium involved with some of these initiatives as well. And so, but Building Smart recently, they or this last year or so, or last 2 years, they started developing their Building Smart data dictionary. It's a data dictionary, and it allows for everybody to kind of submit their own thing. Right? So, and maybe it's the manufacturers who do it, or if y'all have like all that system, maybe y'all might be able to supply that as well.
Yeah, with all of that stuff, sure, these ones have money. This is a good content library for ASC. ASC is a big sound manufacturer.
Yeah.
We're actually doing all of their data. So we're playing in all these spaces too. I think we just need to.
Thank you. Well, and the other thing too, like talking about like open, that's one of the big initiatives too. And part of it's having that data dictionary, sharing that information. But like even on your stuff and on the stuff that these companies are doing, like if you click on any one of them and go to like a 3D model, can I export that out as an open standard IFC drawing?
Oh, and that's
we just need requirement.
Yeah, so see, we have here in this one specifically, we have 3D, which we have the Revit as a separate.
Yeah, it's Revit. Yeah.
It's a Revit. Yeah, but I think.
But as far as an actual IFC schema, open schema type thing.
We support like 47 flavors.
I know, but not IFC.
That's okay.
The one open standard, yeah. But all the other standards that you do have in there, they're also price charged, except for maybe the STEP and some of the other ones. But you know, we have STEP, have some others. But the open, like the open top stuff, kind of ironic because I was thinking was originally for the manufacturing stuff along with the STEP files, and unfortunately a lot of the design software, open software didn't support it originally. Now it does, and so the ironic thing, if I want to see, I gotta export like one of your models and then bring it into a proprietary system and then export it out into the IC format.
So,
but I'll sometimes may lose data because it depends on how that organization exports it out. So if it's in the IC schema to begin with, then you don't have a data loss.
So what I would say with that is long, based on customer demand.
Yeah. Okay.
And normally the reason why we got pulled into all these proprietary is because the end user, I'm a SolidWorks user, I want a SolidWorks file.
Yeah, I know.
We just haven't, but I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, and I use it on Shape and some of the other tools and stuff. And
but it's the requirements that we just feed it back to the development group to output in that format.
Yeah, I'll give you that information. And then yeah, I think I had it, but you go ahead and get it. That way I can send you my full contact and recent information.
Yes.
And then, because the other thing that they started too, which is kind of in lines with what JIP 33 is doing with like standards and stuff, with like the specifications and stuff like that. They have the BSDD, part of it, and they have all these different organizations that are submitting to it, right? So as example, and Tim International, which is like electrical stuff, MB Uniclass 2015, and then some of the some other ones that they have. But also different countries are submitting their own stuff. Here's the German product extensions. So this eventually will be I know this one will be replaced by this is but that's in the mandate on that is 2027. And right now they have limited, it's been adopted in there, very limited as far as the products, but long term, that's going to be the European, but they don't have a requirement to have it. It's still 3 years out before they have to. So 2 years. I guess it means so because 2027 is the mandate for for the products and stuff. And they're rolling it out at different phases too, so it depends on which ones too.
That's what you were saying.
Yeah, so that, 'cause I was looking at the one specifically around the valves and the joint forces, EPP and the OPC. They were saying that the European Commission for that stuff was 27, so it's like, and this stuff is like for right now, like the civil construction fabrication, and so these are data dictionaries that are machine readable, that support, that can be utilized within. And of course, each country, Norway, Finland, on the transportation, they're implementing because, and also the US, they have infrastructure. That's what I'm working with buildings for right now on the infrastructure, roads and bridges and stuff. And they're developing the standards, but we got jobs that are going to start like in January of next year. We're going to start bidding at that. I got a presentation next Wednesday that I'm doing, talking about the standards and probably take off on the visual model. But that's okay. When I was trying to find examples to show for my project, the standards are there, they haven't been actually approved yet, and they haven't been fully implemented. So, or they've been implemented by different ways by different people. For example, quantities show up in property set instead of quantity set, or quantity, yeah. So, which, because quantity set part of the standards new, so it just has been updated.
Standard building and then getting people to
implement, and even if they say they implement the standard, or they have different ways, there's interpretation of this.
This is where I think.
So now there's validation tools to validate if there's work, if it's.
This is where I think we have a bit of a play as we can hear from all the manufacturers in all the formats, right? We can act as kind of a normalizer and a.
Right, no, that's what I was saying, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And so if we understand what the goal is, we can take the start point and get it to the goal. And then we just create a data map so when they update.
Yeah, so, because I think.
You managed it well.
I'm really, thinking that's the long term, that's. Building Smart, they work on different domains, and then the recent one is Open BIM for product manufacturers, exactly what we're talking about, right? So, and they have a white paper on it now, and this is relatively new information that they have, but it fits in with their data dictionary system, and
standards.
yeah, so you gotta, yeah, and then the other part was this information delivery specification is similar to so that's the information delivery specification. IDS is something new that they added into the system as well, and that's the machine readable information delivery specification as well. But if you look at the specification, you may go, oh, you know what, that looks like, especially on your side, you may say, oh, this looks like a lot like the BBC or one of the other formats. And so I don't think it's like we'll kind of create something totally new. I think but it's just the adoption and having the discipline to do it. And then the IDS actually is supported within the IFC, and it actually exports out with the IFC data as well. The IDS information, the BSVD information, all that information is there. Because the idea behind the BSVD, it would have like all the detailed information, and then the IDS would have like the product specification information, and then the IFC would have the actual geometry side of it as well, all linked together. Yeah.
That's because like John was saying, is right now it's all pieces, parts. It's like the design data is different from the geometry data. It's different from the, standards or the specification data.
Yeah, and they have they have it all on GitHub. They have it all open. That's where, because like a lot of the standards, you go look at them and they're all behind standards firewall. You got to pay for the standard, you get the information to implement it, blah, blah, blah. And then what they're doing.
Encryption to be part of it.
Yeah. So on their stuff, they're open, they're making it all open and available. So.
Definitely.
And then
What I'll do is I'll get some conversation with the development team and see if we can add some open formats to the platform.
Yeah.
To be able to support that kind of.
And I'll send you a link with this information too, along with some of these, because it is computer interpretable XML type of stuff. And that meets, these different standards and stuff too. So, so yeah, it definitely helped with having the schema formats and then database schemas instead of file formats. And then and then the idea is that anybody could bring in the schema into whatever software and not have to worry about.
We have 3,600 different schemas
Yeah.
that they're being updated all
Yeah,
the time.
exactly.
Based on, what we're trying to achieve.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's even implementers documentation too. So,
Nobody ain't getting
yeah, but here's an example of the schema file, and you'll recognize probably some of that.
Nobody ate it.
Small stuff.
I'm gonna eat it.
Yeah, it's just entity type and all that stuff. Value system, so part of type and because you have the part bodies and all that stuff, and so it takes account to that from a manufacturing standpoint too.
Introduction by
and data type attributes.
Getting the manufacturers with all their systems to be able to support this level is going to be
No.
because they're all, and the big ones, and he's talking about Siemens and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
of
no.
course, Siemens will be able to do it or whatever, but that's
Yeah.
The big screen.
No, I'm just wondering if you're like, maybe this format is something that y'all could export out of too,
Yeah.
That way, but yeah, I was just,
You have an HDM? You don't?
No, I do.
I was gonna say, I don't.
I had just enough slack.
I have this, the new one only comes with USB-C, so I have to do this now to get everything in.
I lucked out. I have both display and HDMI.
Wow.
yay.
Send me over.
And a real HDMI too, not the little
minis,
bitty, like that you need a adapter for.
We need to talk to Jamie about being staying via deck.
Do what?
Need to talk.
Oh.
Via deck back. Bill.
Wait, who is the?
Jamie's like, no.
Our contact.
From a marketing thing, yeah.
Red Hunter.
Well, I don't.
Reg Hunter.
So I think
He was our champion.
I think.
He is ridden off into the sunset. Yeah. Ramsdale and all kinds of.
Oh yeah.
Remember Reg?
Yeah, Reg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick Jackson and Reg Hunter.
Yeah, Reg. And Todd Sutton. No, but I think
This afternoon.
I've got a meeting with a guy. He's going up with this one. I'm meeting with a guy.
I think.
Lunch. And I gotta get one.
Me too.
Together.
Barbecue?
I'm gonna have.
Barbecue?
I really do.
Barbecue?
As far as.
Yeah, that's well, come all the way down here. Get dressed up, we might as well dance.
Fall.
I'm a dog.
When you come to Houston, it's Tex-Mex or barbecue.
It doesn't say. And I just spent 3 weeks in Mexico, before Thanksgiving.
Then definitely barbecue. Balance is.
Definitely needs part of the bigger.
Where'd you go?
So we have a place, it's a membership type program, there's 9 places in Mexico. We were in Playa. So we went to Cozumel for a couple of days, which is just off the coast from Playa, but flew into Cancun and just missed Sarah. Sarah blew through and we were right after Sarah. We had 1 day of clouds and a little sprinkles, but then everyone else, come back home and it's snowing in Ohio.
So, yeah, I think.
My wife said, why did we come home?
That's well. Beautiful tropical vacation.
Cold here, yeah.
We went to Cabo
when I was
a couple of weeks
I
ago.
only.
It's nice.
It's, yeah,
This next June is weather.
it's sunny and 75 every day.
And dry.
Yeah.
Or
Like,
bad thing.
Mexico, West Mexico is dry. Arizona,
And because we was talking.
Florida, can't go. Humid, same temperature, but just a whole different experience. We're going to Cabo in June. We already got- They had these, our resort club had a Good Friday sale. Jump on that bad boy. Thinking ahead, 7 months. We'll be here before now.
Oh gosh, I know.
Love the Black Friday deals.
Yeah.
We had a little unexpected vet visit. My dog, he ripped one of his nails out. So we had to go to the urgent care for vets.
Yeah.
You know,
My husband was like, do you all have any Black Friday sales at the vet? I did not, but. Yeah, we had it. It's saved us.
And it was.
We had our deductible that day, so now we're good for
One of
next
the things I
year.
really felt like, that was.
But yeah, a lifesaver for any young animal,
Got that.
older dogs and.
We didn't spend that much time on it.
We got that for them when he turned one.
We were back.
And they keep doing it, we're using it, so.
Yeah.
Like
What kind of dog?
a golden retriever.
Okay.
So he loves to run, he's super active.
Doodle. So it's kind of, that's the both ones in my mind, like that's the traits of the golden, but the hair dog, not the fur dog. You know, like walking
Oh, I
around the
know.
house, no hair, no.
Get tumbleweed,
I
or
wish.
Shimbas, or.
Same here. Same here.
Then we got our first doodle. What goes? This is kind of nice. I don't have hair all over my clothes and my couch and everything. Yeah. Yeah, he's a crazy man. In a way that those who.
Yeah.
With
So
that
German Shepherd.
The bumps, the bruises,
Yeah.
the upset tummies, everything.
That's what he's saying.
That's like our German Shepherd, right? She's mostly black. Very dark black coat. They have that undercoat and stuff.
The subcommittee.
Blondish, really fine. Everywhere, right? She sheds
That's
like
not go away. That's the same. It's got the same name. So, since it was the standing committee.
2 days later, after they brush them out, 2 days later, it needs to be done.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, they're good. We like it. It's fun. We have cats, outside cats, but inside dogs. I mean, they go out and stuff, obviously, but the cats,
They leave there, pull up outside.
we have a lot of, we have big places.
No, I don't think we need-
Mice
yeah,
and
yeah.
chipmunks and other things.
Some in-
Cat keeps them down. It's good. Earn their pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have a symbiotic relationship with the dog.
Even better.
Their cat's unclawed, or it's not, has claws. So a couple times it's been that.
It's a little bit.
Oh, hey, hey, what the? Understand. Yeah, it's a learned behavior for sure.
We're doing what we did last year, have them come out.
One dog?
You know, showcasing and stuff.
We have two Portuguese water dogs. I got a brother and a sister because my son said when I leave, I'm gonna take one with me. He laughed. He has a house now and we have his dog. So, but we still charge him for food and vet bills and everything.
It says there to be a monthly invoice that goes out.
That's it. Show you on my phone, right? Here's your monthly invoice to my son.
Your dog at my house.
And the insurance policy.
Yeah.
Just-
They
Right.
also have hair, you know, fur dog as well.
Uh,
So they have the name Water Dog and the Golden Doodle. So you just. Check for you. And we're staying with. He is the water dog.
Yes.
He loves the water, not so much with the gold or the Portuguese water dog. This is good. There shouldn't be enough design.
Right.
And what that means. And-
Right.
Sorry, ready?
Yeah, well, that's another aspect too, the showcasing at the conferences, that was.
So there's the black ones are the Portuguese water dogs.
Yeah, I just had.
Oh.
Does it have like a life vest on? Yeah, he's sort of like, there's only one place to get out. Yeah. He's down the deep end, and he gets tired. He's going under.
Yeah.
He has no fears of that. So I saw that. Dude,
Well, that's.
you know, snappy little
We
life
would
vest.
actually showcase, we had the rise.
That's good. I mean, that's like our German Shepherd, right? She's brought her down from Canada. She'd never seen anything like pool before.
Really innovative
And
companies.
so I'm trying to teach her how to swim.
Yeah.
And she's at the point now where she'll, I can coax her in. I get in and I coax her in and she gets in and she'll swim a little bit towards me. And then if she turns towards the deep end, I spin her back and go upstairs, stairs. Right. Right to the stairs and walks out. But I have to.
But she wants to get in on it. Go ahead first.
Yeah. Her predecessor, while we lived here before, she would just dive in. I tried to get the thing, though, I had to coax her a year before she could come. She goes herself. Started in her garage. Because the shepherd is not a water dog at all.
So this is our first,
robot that does it.
And he would actually float around, he put under his arms, and he would actually float and skip, and just skip doodle on a noodle.
Yeah, right. That's so cute. That gives, you just gave me a good idea. Maybe I'll try that. Because she does try to fly or go towards a floater or something if it's in there.
Well, they're
We get like hunter-proof wraps that are meant for dogs.
Chevron.
The inflatable.
It's a tiny John.
Another one, but it's still innovation.
Yeah, I got, I texted the guy, we'll go about 12 o'clock.
Really good job.
I came across.
I didn't know how many people were gonna show up. So you're gonna look at the charter? Oh, it's up there.
Sure, please.
Yeah.
Time frame, but
It sounds like
it's
probably gonna break away by you.
UAS and robotics, drone show that we call it, but so for the energy.
It seems like.
I think you wrote this, right, John?
Yeah.
The charter?
Charter.
Yeah.
Is there anything you think that needs to be adjusted?
Thanks.
Yeah, so.
We need to revisit.
Yeah, 'cause that's valid.
We've got a form that they want us to use.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we'll have to rewrite it. I basically just focused on getting the valve catalog side, but I think we need to look at the whole banana, the QR code, the 9 yards.
Yeah, actually, 2 ladies that run the company, so that was the other part of it too, that was really impressive. And I have the video of her talking to kids, and that's another thing. I've known it before.
Then I'll update the other joint working group charter.
And stuff, that worked with.
The format from Jamie. We'll figure out what to do with that too.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the name of that new charter?
Yeah. What's to make sure? You've got it all pretty well documented.
Maybe conference or something.
Yeah.
And then meet with this TBA and go to Nashville specifically.
Put one on
and
the back
then
burner,
look at
focus efforts here.
STEM related or potential.
Yeah, you kind of wonder if maybe that's.
Tools. And then one of
obsolete.
the days of the conferences,
You know what I mean?
have
Getting
let
the
them come, have a group of students come in, high school age and stuff. And
They're still gonna rely on that.
the kind of experience would make it, and maybe it's just only like a 2-hour time block, a small group.
Yeah.
But then bring them in and then they get to experience the showcase wall and also be able to network and stuff too. Maybe they can actually
what would be interesting is
even start like before the rest of the group
look at
gets
the whole
there. And then
process.
the vendors can show off the
Natural
different things
breaks in
to
it.
them. And then when
So you can have your
RFP comes in, they see, everybody sees
Yeah.
these
You have your
young
PO,
kids.
PR,
They're gonna be their future
then you have your
workforce. And
asset
that kind of
maintenance.
ties it all in.
Yes. About the
Because that's what this other.
figures out to do with it, longevity.
The last day of the conference, or the day
It's
after,
the IRS.
2 days,
that
Monday and
we call
Tuesday.
have.
On the Tuesday.
And is that an
around
intermediary
they
to
had people
all these
come
tools and
and,
solutions?
and
And
do
do we
that
wanna?
vendor showcase area. So
This almost has a front section
So they
even
go in
before
and
that,
do this
because
thing,
it sounds like
and they're walking through.
it could be used as part of the vendor selection process, right? You could use it as part of the queue to actually pick your vendor. I guess that form would be part of that cycle.
You missed a good meeting. Come on in.
Good.
Yeah.
Over the existing.
Yeah, no, we're done with the meeting. We're just kind of
Yeah.
regrouping, but we had, some stuff that didn't.
Yeah, there's some definite overlap, right? Under, because it needs those elements on there. It's just becoming
That may
incorporated.
benefit.
And if this is brought to IOCP,
Maybe somebody, maybe some engineering.
figure out
firm.
what to do with it.
Yeah, that's basically what we're gonna do. They got all the standards over there and everything. We had MRC in here, we had Shell, we had Exxon, we had Chevron.
We're all these universities around the country. You know.
So we're probably gonna take Mike with us, Mike from Trade Parts. He
Yeah, Lee's gonna join us too.
Yeah.
Some of this can change.
Yes. There.
Yeah.
Probably leave early. I'm not. I'm kind of.
Whole thing that EDCC is doing.
I think that will be good. but
Maybe they're doing something cool
That's
like
still
the
only
National
part of the
Science
process. So
Foundation.
if I were to buy widgets from you, everything that I order from you comes with QR code, comes with data that I'm able to put somewhere.
But yeah, that'd be kind of, yeah.
But
Showcasing some people here.
I'm an engineer, but before I get there, how does that get passed along to manage through?
I think it's a.
Yeah.
Kind of get it in a.
Oh, yeah,
state.
definitely.
It's still what I'm doing there, but I think that the purchasing process is a really great tool for automation to get rid of all the paper and whatnot, but like once it's in the door, that's.
Yeah. That region, yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's no trying to, the TPA.
On the industry.
Yeah, they have a.
Use criticality.
Exxon Mobil.
So this is all about digitizing. Also, is that about digitizing as well? Organization, or is it more about like a repository? Make sure you get it and you hang up, but it's.
Expectations that.
Yeah, you're right. Hang up.
But then.
Information that